Instagram. So obviously, I'm sure I'm from Go-Wirral. I have netball's connection through being a team manager in a team that is in Wirral. Shout out to Kingsmead Netball, by the way. So that's Coach Claire, Coach Charlie. So they are absolutely just made up that you're here today, by the way. So, like, yeah, just a big, massive thank you because I only reached out to you yesterday and I know how busy
You
you
did?
are with what's
Do you
going
know
on.
what? I love it when people shoot their shot and just, jump into my DMs. And for me, I've got a big event on Saturday to promote. So I'm happy to come on. I actually think this is my first Instagram
Oh,
live.
is it?
I
I'll
don't think
see.
I've done this before. How
Yeah, it's
exciting.
pretty cool actually, isn't it? Yeah, and it's just maybe like a different way of doing things, isn't it? And obviously this gets uploaded to YouTube and Spotify and kind of gets clipped up and all that type of stuff to social
Yeah.
media. But sometimes it's just nice to watch live. I don't know if you
Let's
noticed.
have a chat.
Well,
Feel like you sit and get a cuppa if it's like I haven't had my lunch yet, but
I haven't had my
get a bit
lunch
of
either.
lunch and just sit and listen to a bit of netty chat.
Yeah,
Sounds like the perfect way to spend an afternoon.
and yeah, so a big massive thank you. So obviously we've got, for those that don't know, this is Claire Nelson, and Claire is actually the MD. And are you the first ever MD of the NSL, the Netball
Yeah,
Super League?
people love that. The first managing director of the Netball Super
Yeah.
League. Yeah.
And to give comparison to those that are not from the netball world, that is like the equivalent of, so when we talk about the Netball Super League, a lot of comparisons and a lot of people in Wirral or, certainly Merseyside will think of football as that comparison.
Hmm.
The netball is the Premier League, it's the Premiership, isn't it? Netball NSL
Absolutely.
is the highest you can go in this country.
Yeah, this is our elite domestic league. So, and we are the most played team sport by women in the UK.
Mhm.
And we're the third most played team sport overall. So you've got men's and women's football combined, you've got men's and women's cricket combined, and then you've got netball. So you've
Amazing.
got 3 million people playing it across the UK. We've got this really successful international team, the Vitality Roses, who made the final of the World Cup. They sit kind of between 1 and 3 in
Mhm.
the world
Yeah,
rankings. They'll be competing for medals at the Com Games. Got this big grassroots participation sport, and then you've got the Super League, and we're one of the best leagues in the world in our sport, and you know we are, like you say, we're the best of the best. Our athletes are some of the best in the world, so really proud of that. And for people that don't know netball, they always go, I haven't seen that since school days. I always say, like, jump on our socials, see some of the clips of what netball looks like now, because it is phenomenal.
and we're going to talk about, like, I think, because I'm from a football background, I'm from Merseyside, so everything's football. I grew up in Liverpool. Um,
Are you allowed to say what team you
I suppose
support?
Everton for my sins, yeah. So I've had a hard time my whole life with sport.
Oh, does my partner.
No
My
way.
partner's
Is it
an
Evertonian?
Everton guy. Yeah, he is.
What
He's
on
not from
earth?
Liverpool. I think his granddad was, so
Right.
he's an
Yeah,
Evertonian as well.
well, there's a saying is that Everton chooses you. You don't really,
Oh,
yeah, you don't
okay.
choose
Oh, I
Everton.
like
It's kind
that.
of given to you.
Okay.
Like, so it sticks with us. And so obviously into me football, but then my son plays rugby. So we're just a sports
Yeah,
family generally.
good.
But I would say that netball live is one of the most exciting things you can watch as a sport, isn't it? There's nothing. I don't think any other sport comes close. I've been watching the World Cup with the football, and if you compare that to maybe Pulse versus Lightning last week, I think Pulse versus Lightning beats it. I just do. There's more to it. There's more.
I I agree. And you know something, you can say I'm biased, and I will challenge everyone listening to this. If you can get to Co-op Live in
Mhm.
Manchester for the grand final on Saturday, please do. And hopefully I can tell you a bit about that. But if not, tune into
Yeah,
it. So you can watch it on Sky Sports Mix, Sports YouTube.
yeah,
It's free to air and it's available, but just watch it because it's 60 minutes, 4 quarters, and it is end to end action.
yeah.
There's no boring bit.
Mhm.
There's no, a quarter or half a game without a goal. At the moment, we've had the most competitive season we've ever had.
Yeah,
So we've had more goals go to the wire. So when we relaunched last year, we took away a draw because we were like, we want games to be played to a win.
yeah.
So we've had extra time this
And
season.
Pulse
Last
against Lightning the first time was extra time, was it? It was unreal.
Absolutely. We've had so much extra time this season. We've also introduced last year the Super Shot.
Yeah.
So the Amex Super
Mhm.
Shot, because we've now got a major partner behind it. But the last 5 minutes of each quarter, if you shoot from the edge of the circle, it's worth 2 points. And that has changed games up. So, what you've got are the best athletes.
Hmm.
It's not like, oh, we're not as good as the men's game. Like, these are the best
Yeah.
athletes. And as I said, some of the best in the world, really diverse league as well.
Hmm.
So, yes, you've got the best English athletes in there, but as well as home nations.
Hmm.
But we've got players from Australia, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, South Africa,
Yeah.
Jamaica. So you've got these incredible athletes. Every single person on court needs to get a ball from one end to the other. It's the ultimate team
There's no
sport.
time
You
wasting.
can't dribble and shoot yourself.
There's no time
And,
wasting.
and it's, there's no time wasting. You've got to get rid of it. The skill is there. There's no backboard. It's real team sport. It's real energy. It's real physicality, and it's real entertainment. And some of the games, I've been lucky to go to a lot of them. Some of the games, when you're sitting at home, the sound of that
Yeah.
crowd coming through
Yeah.
tells you how entertaining is, exciting is. It's interesting. Again, I'm doing some signposts. There's an gorgeous, gorgeous spoken word poem that Sky Sports have just put out for the grand final. And they've put it on Sky Sports Netball, Sky Sports
Hmm.
Instagram pages. So go and look at it. And I just looked at some of the comments underneath it. And there's a guy who's like, oh, it's the most boring sport in the world. And I just thought, each to their own,
Hmm.
because I don't love all the sports out there. But what I love about netball, and what I've loved this season because of how good it's been. So if you think about Manchester Thunder, who are in the final on Saturday, Sophie Fawns falling out of court in the final
Yeah.
second, throwing the ball from behind the line and
Unreal
clinching a win.
moments.
Like, I had guys who don't follow the
Just
sport
moments.
watching that with me on their phone, and they were like, that's brilliant, because to your point, sport is sport
Hmm.
and netball is great sport.
Yeah.
And the more people I can encourage to watch it and tune in, the more people we're going to hook.
Well, let's think about like some comparisons. So I think that watching netball is essentially like a penalty shootout in football. So it's very similar
Okay.
to a penalty shootout, but there's a lot more to it. But it's as exciting as a penalty shootout. And I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
watching this World Cup with the football, there is some element of emotion that's been taken away from the sport, and it's become quite clinical, and it's become very
Okay.
technical to the point where I think the emotion has gone out of the game a little bit, even at the national
Uh,
level. And I think, like, because I'm so into sport and I always have been, netball reconnects for me that emotion to sport that, like, I felt in 1990 with Gaza, that, like, in Euro 96, those like moments where we missed a penalty in a penalty shootout against, was it Germany,
yeah.
and we lost
Yeah.
again. And there's something that netball recreates, and I think it's moments that, as you've just said about Sophie Fawns, with like the last throw of the game, and she nearly went out, and
Yeah.
then she got it in, and it's kind of like that took them through to the final. And that's just, those stories are there with netball all of the time. And actually, I think football's got a bit of catching up to do at the minute with it. I'm going to be
Oh,
honest.
okay. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Do you know, I've talked a lot about emotion this season, and I
Hmm.
was on a podcast this week and we talked about emotion. And that's what sport
Yeah.
is, and
Hmm.
for me, someone has to win and someone has to
Hmm.
lose. And everyone, is, whether you're the fan watching at home or
Hmm.
you're on the court, you are going to have an emotion connected
Hmm.
with that result. But for me, sport in general, it represents the best of us. It represents, and particularly team sport and women's team sport, it represents you having to come together, work together, to train hard, to push through the tough times, to know your role in a team. And sometimes that's sitting on the bench and knowing you're going to come in and make an impact
Hmm.
or shout and support. Sometimes it's, leading the team, but everyone has a role. You're going to be behind at times. What are you going to do mentally, tactically, physically to overcome that? And regardless of what that result is, you have to get up and go again. So there is resilience and there is strength and there is, humility in all of that. And in a world where women in particular, it feels really uncomfortable to show our emotions, to share our emotions, to not be loud, to not let go, to not cry, because that's a weakness, or you're not coping, or you're not in control, or you're unhinged. Actually, what really platforming and profiling is on and off the court, coming together in that safe space and going through and feeling free and being able to, fully express your emotions is a
Look at Paul
really
Gascoigne.
beautiful thing.
Paul Gascoigne, 1990 World Cup. What do people remember? People remember Paul Gascoigne crying because they got knocked out of the World
People
Cup.
want to see that things
It
matter. And
matters.
and again, like sport is passion and a
Yeah,
hobby. It's a passion and a
absolutely.
hobby. Like so if we're all connected through that,
Mhm.
I talked about watching F1 and you see, drivers go out and they're punching the steering wheel and they're going on and like it matters. You work hard, you want to achieve, you want to win,
Yeah.
because ultimately why else are you doing it? And so I just think and what I'm really proud of is because netball, first and foremost, to so many people, is a game that they play. And it's a game that they either played as a kid or they've come back to or they've continued. That they know what it means to be part of something. And so when you're watching, you know what that feels like. So, and because of the size of our sport at the moment, like we're growing, but we're close enough that when you're in a venue or an arena, you really feel
Yeah.
part of something. It's really palpable what what's going on court, what's happening on the bench, and
Mhm.
what's happening in the stands. And I was at the minor semi-final where Loughborough played Forest, and Nottingham Forest fans, they turned up en masse in red to take over because they were like, we're going to support our girls away from home. And the noise, and then the Lightning fans are like, wait, this is our home venue, you're not going to cheer louder than us.
And I think
And the
Forest are like
players were responding to it.
Forest are their bogey team kind of as well, aren't they? I think, yeah.
No.
So
And it just like to sit in the middle of that in my role and to watch. And, there were people I had to hug at the end because they were heartbroken,
mhm.
like really devastated. And there were people I were hugging at the end because they were like, we're going through to the next bit. And that's in the space of, kind of two steps in an arena. That for me is what sport is about, but what makes netball so special. And that experience of the live action, plus all the extra entertainment we put on, because we're more than just our sport. We really think about the arena entertainment, but it's how the fans have really responded, particularly to this season being so
Yeah.
close, so full of jeopardy. That's what's just I just love it. And as excited as I am for the grand final, I'm going to miss this season. It's been really, really special in so many
It
ways.
has, and one of the things about that is the accessibility of it actually. So I remember, when my daughter first started playing, which would have been, she's now 14, so she would have been about 10, maybe 9 or 10, something like that. I don't think anyone watched the NSL then. Was there an NSL then? Did it exist? Could
Yes,
it be
people
found?
did watch it.
Yeah.
They did watch it, but it
Was it
definitely
harder to find,
wasn't
maybe?
where it is. We relaunched last year. So, I
Hmm.
mean, this Super League in its various iterations has been going for best part 2 decades, but it hasn't looked the way it has. And
Hmm.
we talk about our relaunch last year and, went through a tender process. We've got our 8 clubs and we're kind of moving on our professionalization journey. And I think the improvements that we made, the clubs that we brought in, but the improvements that we made to the venues we play in, the rules that we've introduced, the digital content, the storytelling, the visibility, the fact that you can watch all
Yeah.
4 games free to air
Unbelievable.
across Sky and
Well, I think
BBC.
it's the only sport that I can think of that you can do that. So like that's our weekend, So me and my wife we'll watch the rugby as well, but you need separate subscriptions for different games and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. But with the netball, you can just watch all of it on
it's there
demand,
and you
on
can watch it
repeat.
on your own
Yeah, I
time,
love it.
on catch up.
Hmm.
And all of that has really just made us stand out. And, there's a lot happening in women's sport. And right now we've got the Cricket World Cup.
Hmm.
So they're going to go on a huge growth. We had the rugby last year and then football. So big, well funded, established women's sports that are built off the back of and the foundations of established, well funded
Hmm.
male sports. They're having their moments. and little old netball here, we are like build and they will come, and we're really trying to cut through to say there's a huge men and mixed game. There's a massive space for men and boys in this. And we were talking about this before we came live. And I love that. But we really are women and girls from the courts to the boardrooms. And with this indoor arena, like we've talked about how great the sport is. We've got grand final on Saturday. There's a live music halftime show. You know, we have all the sports press, fan engagement, the screens, music, DJs, fan zones. You know, our partner activations are mega. So for us, it's really about spotlighting and showcasing how unique netball is as a fan experience and proposition, and hoping that, you know, that keeps fueling our journey
Well,
forward.
a positive sign is, I mean, that's the UK's biggest arena, isn't it? Where the grand
It
final's being held.
is.
So
It's
so
massive.
yeah, that's the
It
biggest
is.
arena in England, and that's the
It is.
first ever sporting final in the biggest
It
arena
is.
in
Thank
England.
you. You've done your
Yeah,
homework.
really was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we went to the O2 last year and we broke records there. And you know, for us, we talk quite a lot about one of our challenges was not asset owning. So what that means is we don't have our own
Hmm.
venues. So that's a bit of a challenge for us because, you know, putting netball into major arenas, and hopefully we can talk about when we came to M&S Bank
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
season in Liverpool. I was there; it was incredible. You know, but it's a lot of money. You've got to make you know, we can't pick our times. We
Hmm.
have to work with
Yeah.
availability. They're working around like Taylor
It's
Swift
Billy
and
Joel.
everything else in there. But the beauty is that actually we can take our sport to different
Yeah.
places. And, you know, the scale of our sport, we've got 8 clubs across the UK, but there's a lot of people who just love netball and they're
Mhm.
club agnostic. So for us going from London and being in the iconic O2, being able to come and bring it to
Mhm.
the north, to Manchester, and to go to Co-op Live, which is such an iconic venue, it has been incredible. And what that's done as well is really pushed us to think about the people. So, yeah, we want everyone traveling, but actually, if we think about the Northwest region, there's such a music culture there. There's a different energy. So we've really lent into how do we put on the best 60 minutes of netball? How do we make sure we give the right platform to these 2 finalists? But how do we put on a full day experience and entertainment
Mhm.
that really speaks to the people in the region, and the things that they love and they want to do. And music's a big part of that. We've got come and try activations. You can try the Super Shot.
Yeah.
All of our partners that are putting on like I've seen kind of giant dartboards and like fairground things and free sampling. All of our content creators and podcasters. We've got awards and giveaways, but we've really thought about not just, oh, we're going up north, but how do we create
Mhm.
experiences that are powerful for our audience, but powerful for the local community as well?
And I mean, netball within the Northwest is just absolutely huge, isn't it? So, you know, I don't know if you know, but I've spoke to Lauren Palmer, spoke to Harriet Jones, because Harriet Jones is from Wirral, so that's where we are.
Oh,
And I think, you know,
okay.
she's the only NSL player from Wirral, maybe that there's ever been,
Okay.
certainly
Okay.
currently. And I'm always talking about regionality, and
Yeah.
Go-Wirral is a hyper local kind of platform. But I'm always obviously I was brought up in Liverpool, and I always think, "Where's our franchise? Where's the
Yeah,
franchise?"
but you know, so look at what Thunder did.
Mhm,
You know, did you manage? Because we obviously had the World Cup
mhm,
in 2019 in
yeah,
Liverpool. I moved into Liverpool and lived there for 2 weeks, and it was absolutely incredible. And I mean, the spike and growth of our sport
mhm,
following that World Cup was
yeah,
amazing. And we started the Super League season in 2020, and we were just breaking records left, right, and centre. And then COVID hit. So when you think about everything that was
mhm,
COVID in our sport, that we are an indoor team, like
yeah,
contact sport, really shut us down, and we kind of had to restart and rebuild again. And that we didn't want to lose the legacy and momentum from what the World Cup brought to the sport as a whole across the UK, but in particular that region. So it was amazing when AO Thunder decided to bring netball back to Liverpool last year,
Yeah.
and they worked really closely with Jen Taylor, who is the regional chair for the whole of the Northwest, but is a local, I believe, a local
Yeah.
Liverpool girl to you. And so they put on a game last year, and they worked really hard. They worked really closely with Everton and the local city to try and say, look, there's netball here. You don't have a franchise. There's
Hmm.
netball here. And they decided to come back this year and make it even better. So they put on a double header. So you had 4 teams, 2 games in
Yeah,
one day.
our
But
whole netball team went to that. It was like unreal.
oh, it was so
Yeah.
good. But they worked really cleverly around. So having the Dragons Rhinos
Hmm.
game beforehand meant that you had kind of North
Yeah.
Wales, which was nearby,
Yeah.
and Yorkshire fans. So you had those fans come in. And then it was obviously Lightning, Pulse, Thunder. So that was a great game.
Hmm.
The atmosphere in the venue was incredible. And you had so many traveling fans. I hope that they want to do that again next
Yeah.
year. And that's, one day, maybe in 5, 10 years' time, we've got 15 franchises, clubs across the whole of the UK. But right now, we need to make sure that we're building our fan base and we're making
Mm.
every single game a sellout,
Competitive.
that we are growing those eyeballs. And so, when it comes to Liverpool and M&S Bank Arena, we need everyone to turn up and to experience that, because that really helps us to keep driving forward. But I loved it. It was one of my
Yeah.
favorite events this season, and I thought Thunder did a great job of all like the extra
Yeah.
entertainment with like the cheerleaders and the DJs and the music and stuff. What a day out
I
for
just think this
people.
whole season has been really competitive though, and you kind of don't really know who's going to win on the day. And again, with speaking to lead players and the and Lauren, you just felt like the win's coming all season, didn't you, for them?
Yeah.
And you were willing them on to win for the whole season. And there's just so many
But that's what we
stories in
need.
there's so many stories in the league this year. There really is.
And if you look at, Forest had beaten Lightning, I
Yeah.
think, twice this season,
Yeah.
and then they go into semi-finals and they lose them. And there was one week, I can't remember, but it was like Dragons took Poles to extra
Yeah.
time and Poles beat them and they beat
Yeah.
Dragons and it was like you just on any day anybody could show up
Hmm.
and challenge. And is that not what you want in sport?
Absolutely.
Is that not what you want? That's what's going to drive ticket sales, season tickets, tuning in, staying tuned in. Because if you've got a disparate league, if you've got predicted results,
Hmm.
if you've got one team, running away with it all the time, I just think that's not entertainment.
It
That's
turns
not
people
sport. That's
away.
not
It turns people away
competition.
from the sport as well. And you do get that in football to a certain extent, because of the kind of financial side of things. You get that kind of top heaviness really, and it does become a little
But
bit
you don't
more
want a 2-horse race. I mean, I actually live in Scotland. I live in Glasgow, and it's, my son's a Celtic fan, but
yeah.
I'm always like, they win
Yeah,
everything.
well Rangers, but it's
I know
one
they
of the
had a
two.
bit of competition this year,
Yeah.
but I'm like, and he loves it. He
Yeah.
loves to win, but I'm like, where's your
Yeah.
competition? I want to see everyone challenging everyone. I want to see last minute goals. I love extra time. Like you say, penalty like that. They are the
I
moments
think
that make sport.
is the the kind of timeout, is that new?
Tactical timeout. Yeah.
I
So
think
we
that's amazing.
introduce.
I think that's one of the best bits of the match, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
think
love that.
I've watched it again in the World Cup recently with the hydration breaks, and that's not really worked there. They're a bit too long, and nothing really
And that's
happens.
not really tactical. I think it's, I've seen people talk about that being a well-being thing, which should be, because we had games over semi-final
Hmm.
weekend. It was so hot,
Yeah,
we had to do hydration breaks as well. Whether it's, in football, it's more commercial, so they've got more ad
yeah. More ad
breaks. But
breaks. Yeah,
for us at tactical timeout, I love that, because you always see it, that it is called when somebody needs to disrupt something.
something's got to
Now,
give at that point,
the
hasn't it?
questions that we get are, should we have more of them? I mean, I've had it posed about one per quarter. I just think
No, I think it's
the
good as it is.
potential for having if one a game at the moment, I think, means it's truly tactical.
Hmm.
It's truly, when are we going to play this card? I'm always open to considering more. But yeah, we introduced the obviously super short, not playing to a draw, extra time and extended extra
Hmm.
time, and tactical timeout. And I think it's pretty clear that they've been really,
Odds wavering.
um,
It
yeah,
adds
it
jeopardy.
is. It's
Anything that adds
working.
jeopardy, so I listen to rugby podcasts a lot, and rugby has similar kind of I don't know if it's similar, but they certainly have growth. They've had growth issues. So rugby, because
Yeah.
it's rugby union, not
Hmm.
enough jeopardy. So in the league, in the Gallagher Premiership with rugby, you can't get relegated. So there's no way you can get relegated. And
Yeah.
the top six, is it the top 8 out of 10 go into Europe? So pretty much everyone
Okay.
goes to Europe, and you can't be
Okay.
relegated. So it's like, how can you build jeopardy into
Yeah.
something that inherently doesn't have much jeopardy? And I think what you've done
Yeah.
really well is just add levels and levels of jeopardy. That it's drama. People watch sport because it's dramatic and emotional, and you've added, like, in these kind of micro,
Yeah.
hyper focused ways, elements of jeopardy and
Well, I think what's helped as well is the way we've restructured
hmm
the playoffs as well, and
yeah,
just giving, I won't try and explain it all to everybody now, but when 1v2, 3v4, one wins, goes straight to grand final. Two then plays winner of this one. So you've got extra bites at the cherry. You're
hmm
rewarded for being top of the table.
yeah,
You've got the home, and you can go straight through if you're successful.
hmm
But that again, I'm always, there is no relegation in ours at the moment, and
hmm
that's not going to happen for a few years now. We introduced the Next Gen League, which is our feeder league, which I love. And, I think we'll continue to work out how they integrate and feed into each other. But at the moment, we see a lot of, if there are injuries in the Super
yeah.
League, then Next Gen players get called up. So that's
I
really
think it's good.
exciting
I
for
think
us
it's drama. I
with
think it's
talent.
another level of story, isn't it?
Exactly. And that competition is
hmm
really, really close.
hmm
It's so competitive, so interesting to watch. And that's the talent. We also introduced last year this Netball Super Cup,
Yeah.
which is our 1 day standalone, kind of kicks off the
hmm
league event, but that's everyone plays each
Yeah.
other. It's short games, two pools, and that's something a bit different. So we're open to trying new things all the time. We want to create more opportunities to play. There's talks about in the future, do we have cup competitions, and what do we do in our pre-season? We're only 2 seasons in, so
hmm
we're building. What I've always said is we're not afraid to try new things,
Yeah.
but we won't do things for the sake of them. We're not
Yeah.
here for novelty value. We're not here for that. We have to do the things that drive great competition, because great competition drives fandom, and fandom drives commercial value.
hmm
And that has to be. And all the while, we're trying to produce the best national
Yeah.
athletes in the world, so that when we have those moments of World Cups and Commonwealth Games and world events,
hmm
they're the things that drive real visibility in a
Yeah.
sport. And we want everyone to watch it and either go, I want to be a fan, or I want to play it.
hmm
And, and we work as a whole sport. Our league had our grassroots game, the development of the sport, and the elite game. It's all one
hmm
system, and it's all one integrated team of people powering the sport forward.
It's
So,
like, it's actually really refreshing. So a lot of the rugby podcasts that I listen to, it's about, like, the rugby union association. I can't remember what they call, the RFU. Um,
mhm.
that they're not open to trying these things. That they don't think the same way that you do. They don't think, maybe we need to try it. We need to add something in to create jeopardy. If we can't create jeopardy through relegation and promotion, then there's got to be something else that we can do to drive that value and that kind of.
And that's the beauty of where we are as a sport as well, because we're not a female version of an
hmm
existing men's sport.
hmm
So we don't need to operate in a traditional way, with constraints.
hmm
We do have the opportunity to kind of blue sky and blank
Yeah.
canvas, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of insight that sits behind us. We look at sport as an industry. We look at the fact that we have a very unique audience. It
hmm
is predominantly female at the moment. How are they watching? How are they consuming? What else are they doing? Just because there's a lot of people that play our sport doesn't mean they're instantly fans. So
hmm
how do we drive that fandom? We really, we look at what happens in Australia, New Zealand, because they've got really successful leagues over there. But I look at American sports, look at collegiate
Yeah.
sport, look at the rise of women's soccer and WNBA over there.
hmm
what America does well is sport as an entertainment piece
Yeah,
for fans. What
absolutely.
they do really well is investment into women's sport that delivers, real return on investment in terms of, they put a lot of money into the experience and the
Mm,
players, but that delivers commercially for them as well. So we're constantly watching and looking. We've got this connected thread throughout the whole sport. And I love that we can try different things. Not
mm,
everyone loves it, and that's okay. You won't please everybody. But I want to make sure that we're endlessly innovating,
yeah.
that we don't just sit and rest and deliver, that we keep pushing ourselves to thinking, how can we stay relevant and how do we, keep doing the best that we can for the whole
I think it's
sport.
really inspiring. It's really nice to listen to. And actually, I think, you're talking about the was it the WNBA?
Yeah.
And I do think that's the model.
Oh, I know. I
that's the
know.
goal. That is the goal.
And look where they were a few years
Yeah,
ago.
that's right.
Actually, their rise has been pretty big, but
Hmm.
we have to think about the players in all of this,
Hmm.
because you've got the Caitlin Clark effect, you've got the Alona effect
Hmm.
in rugby, you've got the Serena
Yeah.
effect, or the Naomi effect in tennis. Female fandom is largely built behind female
Hmm.
athletes. We resonate with storytelling. So when I think about the Rugby World Cup last year, I don't really love watching
Hmm.
rugby. I don't really understand it. I was absolutely hooked to the digital content and followed
Yeah,
everything because of the player
that's
stories
right.
and what they did. And we actually worked with a company called Tentos, who worked across a lot of the Red Roses content to help us this year, because actually women, we're not transactional. We wanna engage with things that entertain us or
Hmm.
that inspire us
Hmm.
or educate us or that we feel value aligned with. And our athletes are the most, I mean, we've got mothers in there, we've got A&E
Yeah,
doctors,
yeah.
we've got every background, body shape, skin color, experience. And
Hmm.
if we can help to elevate them and to tell their stories, we're going to resonate with
It's
audiences.
connection,
And
isn't
that,
it? It's being connected to the
yeah,
people that play the sport.
we
So
need our Alona. They're
absolutely,
definitely in there.
they
I
are. They're
love our
absolutely
players,
there. It's
but
almost like
we need to get that.
it's the connection. It's almost trying to find the connector that joins the player to the fan base, isn't it? Um,
Absolutely.
that's what the Americans are really good at, isn't it? Is the drama,
Yeah.
the person behind it, the story
Yeah.
behind it. If you look at any of their stuff to do with the UFC, to do with boxing, their storytelling with HBO
Yeah.
Showtime is just
Yeah. Yeah.
phenomenal. I mean, they're like
I know.
documentary films.
I'm still trying to get mine. I've been saying we need our drive to survive
Yeah,
for years. I've been
absolutely.
pitching all the ideas out there because I just think
Hmm.
there's nothing like what we're doing. And if you lift the lid on the incredible people
Yeah.
and what we're doing and how difficult it is and what we do with what we have,
Hmm.
it's a pretty remarkable story. But we will keep kind of, using our platform and working with our partners to get it out there. And the reality is that the majority of women sitting in homes, they've played netball, they have an
Yeah.
experience with it. So we just need to get it in front of them. And, I'm sure you won't disagree with me that you go to a netball, an NSL game, you're hooked. I have
Yeah.
never, ever,
100%.
ever, ever had somebody say, don't people go, I don't get the rules. They go, wait, whose centre passes it next? And but they go, it's so fast, it's so entertaining, the
Yeah.
atmosphere is amazing. So I just need to encourage people to show up. And if anyone has got time on their hands on Saturday,
That's what I was
they
going to
can
say,
pop
really.
over to Manchester
That's
for our
exactly what I
grand
was going to say,
final.
because obviously that is the grand final. It's Pulse versus Manchester Thunder. It's being held in Manchester at the Co-op, the biggest arena in England, but on the first sporting event at that venue.
Yep,
So that again,
yep,
is that some kind of record? I think it is. Are the tickets still
yep.
left for it?
There are tickets. It's a big venue.
Hmm.
I don't think we'll have every seat filled, but we've got a big crowd and there are tickets still available. And like for what you're getting, it's such an affordable day out. We've got different prices across there. But yeah, you've got Manchester Thunder, it's their home,
Hmm.
a home final, but London Pulse are the reigning champions.
Hmm.
And they've both had, like, London Pulse have kind of had this kind of season. Thunder have had this kind of
Yeah.
season. They're both hungry. They both want it. They've both got absolute fearless head coaches. They've both got some of the best players in the world. And you know, nobody can place who's going to win.
Yeah.
Like, there's fans go, I'm a Thunder fan, I want to see, I'm a Pulse, but I don't think anyone can quite place. But as I said, like, we're putting on a full day in the arena. So I think it's kind of 12 o'clock, we open our outdoor fan zone. I
Hmm.
mean, we've got big screens. The production company that we work with, ADI, who do all of our sports presentation, like, they work in Formula One, so they
Hmm.
know fan experiences. But we've got, like, we call our beehive. So there's a beehive there, which is for our littlies. When you start off in netball, we've got our bee program, so they can come and try netball. We'll have our pop-up court with our super shot, so you can
Hmm.
actually see how tough
Yeah.
it is, or maybe not, to
It's tough.
score an Amex super
I'm
shot.
always trying in
It
the
is
garden at my
tough.
daughter. It's really hard.
Listen, I'm center energy. I can't shoot for toffee. It's not for me. But you can have a go at that. We've got our partners with all of our activations. We've got you'll see the teams arrive. Every club from the league this season is sending their
Oh,
players,
I've seen
so
that.
you can meet them and autographs. We've got some of our fan podcasters and content creators
Hmm.
who are going to be running the stages and doing Q&As, and you know, they understand, because they're fans themselves, what fans want. We've got our DJs, we've got competitions, we've got giveaways, we've got our NSL Player Awards. You might even get to meet me pottering around in heels, saying hello to everybody. And then, of course, we've got our amazing, amazing game. The in-arena experience will be phenomenal. You'll get chills. You'll have, you know, amazing highs. And at halftime, working with American Express, we've got our Amex unsigned artist, Maya Lane, and we're giving her the platform to provide our halftime live music show. So,
Hmm.
like,
Bringing Super
it's
Bowl. We're bringing Super Bowl energy.
I know,
Yeah,
I literally, we're just Rihanna next year,
I
but
love it.
we are, like, it's a full experience. It's not just a game of netball, and
Do you know what's
I just
really
really
nice
want,
though? You know what's really nice is having someone who is leading something like this, like yourself. You just know who cares about the thing itself. You know, that's what it's about, isn't it? You care about the
yeah,
thing, so
we
you're
all
gonna look
do.
after it.
Like,
You're gonna look
yeah,
after something you care about, and that it's so
the
nice to hear actually.
people, yeah, everyone that works across this sport are just amazing. And, you know, we don't have massive budgets, we don't have massive
Mhm.
teams. We work together from our clubs to our local netball community, like,
Mhm.
you know, Jen, the regional chairs, the counties, clubs, schools, England netball staff, development staff, like, everybody works together to make our sport a success. And, you know, we care about our fans, we care about our players,
Mhm.
we care about, you know, young people and the future stars of our sport. We take our responsibility as custodians of the sport at this really pivotal
I know.
time in our journey really seriously. um, and I just want to stand. I do get quite emotional, and I keep saying, like, that's okay because I care, but I have those moments when I just will stand in the arena and I just watch, and I just watch what's happening, and I feel really proud and
Yeah.
privileged of what we get to do. So, yeah, and I know what we're working on. I think every year we push ourselves to be bigger and better, but it always has people at the heart of it.
Mm.
So I'm really looking forward to Saturday and to seeing what people think of it.
So finally, like maybe two last questions actually. So just one because while I've got yeah, what's been like your favorite moment from this season? Because this season has been good. It's been very good. So what maybe like what are some of the moments that have been
Has
a highlight for you?
favorite. Do you know, I've got a few. Any time I go to a live event and I'm in a venue, I just doesn't matter what happens on court. I love the chance to interact with our fans. You know, I can talk about the stats and the growth and so on. I definitely Super Cup
Hmm.
was a moment for me. Again, I'm very transparent. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You know, I had a very difficult end to last year, start to this year personally. You know, I'm a mum first and
Hmm.
foremost, and I do the job on my own. And
Hmm.
just kind of coming into Super Cup and just seeing what my incredible team, all these wonderful people, they'd let me have that time to focus on what I needed to do. And we put this incredible event on, and it was that we're back,
Yeah.
and this is what I get to do, and I feel very lucky about that. So that, and I think I'll have the same at the grand
Yeah,
final. I think I'll have a real, like, we've got through this season, and it's been a really good
been
season.
an amazing season.
Oh, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
top
It
notch.
just, it really, it's just
Even the
felt
players coming
different.
in to the league and everything, it's been
Yeah.
phenomenal. You know, like some of the
And
South
just like when
Africans that
you
have come
think
over
about,
and
I know, and Dragons,
yeah,
you know, who have just been the underdogs
yeah,
for so many years, and they've been absolutely brilliant. And, you know, Forest, who was so disappointed not to make top four, and they
yeah,
finally did it this year. And, you know, Mavs filling Wembley
yeah.
and just putting on that amazing show. Then you look at like Charlie Fiddler coming over and just making her
Unbelievable.
name, and, you know, watching Sonia take over Panthers. Then you think about the likes of Rhinos and how tough it's been
Yeah,
with pregnancies and
yeah.
injuries, and they just come back, and everyone's resilient, everyone's fighting, everyone's competing, everyone has self-belief, everyone's, you know, really, for me, just evidenced how amazing the players, the coaches, everyone, how amazing they are as human beings, and we do it with.
I think this season has gripped me to the point, right? And like I am a little bit of a sports statter, and I always have been anyway. But I think I could name every lineup in the league. You know, I reckon I'm there. I kind of know.
Love that.
Yeah,
So, you know, we set
I'm a
out
sports
when
person.
we.
I just once I get into a sport and like I get it, I understand the rules, I know what it's about, and then start looking at the personalities and the kind of stories and that. And I just think there's quite a lot of stories going on in the league actually, and I just think it's been
So when we were
absolutely massive.
working on the relaunch and we thought about our brand, we talked about what NSL would stand for and who
Hmm.
we would be, and we talk about unapologetically female, and that we are, you know, here to illuminate the indisputable power of women and girls and all those
Hmm.
different things. But when we talked about our fans, we said we wanted fans to be obsessed, because that is what drives. If you think about football, think
Collectors,
about Formula One, fan obsession. So this year
statisticians. You know, I'm always about the stats
we
as well.
made that was it. We made the conscious effort this year. We were going to improve our stats. We were going to improve sharing
Hmm.
those stats. That we were going to work with, you know, we've got more content creators and podcasters this year. We
Hmm.
were like, we're going to work with them. You've got fantasy netball has come, all of this. And so us at the center, like, we work with them, feeding information, listening to what's being said,
Hmm.
because actually if we can drive obsessive fandom, you know, that's the bit that powers the sport.
Hmm.
So we've definitely, I mean, it helps that the sport's been brilliant,
Yeah.
but we've made such a conscious effort, and it's been a real tactic this year for us to really share and elevate the sports content
Hmm.
and drive those moments. We work with Sky Sports, 10 Toes, Two Circles. These are all industry experts working across the biggest sports
Hmm.
properties in the world. And they have shown us what content to share, what information, how to
Yeah.
do it, so that we can make sure we build really engaged and enthusiastic
Yeah,
fans.
these are elite athletes, and like I think it's really, you know, just knowing with my daughter, and she's obviously under 15, just the amount of work and training and fitness and strength and conditioning just to play in a
I
performance
know.
center at under 15 is
I know,
incredible.
but that's how we get the best
Yeah,
players in the
that's
future,
right.
and that's, you
Yeah.
know, I've seen presentations from our England Roses team talking about actually what that pathway looks like,
Hmm.
and we've got a job with Super League and the clubs to fuel that. But if we want to win on the world stage and we want to be the best at what we do, have the
Hmm.
best domestic league, have the best, you know, England team in the world. Obviously, the league represents lots of different nations, but we are owned and operated by England Netball, and we know what those moments do. Then we need to get that pathway performing at a young age. But for those that just want to play the sport socially,
Hmm.
like, it's making sure there's something for
Hmm.
everybody. We've got our
Absolutely.
walking netballers who do it, and it's like there's got to be a place for everybody in our sport, and that's
Hmm.
what we work really hard to build.
Amazing. And I just know that you're going to be running out of time now. I'm going to give you my prediction
Super.
for Saturday. So Saturday,
Okay.
3 o'clock, co-op live. Well, I think I thought that Thunder were going to walk it, but then I saw Sam Baird after the game where they got beat. It was at the prelim
Okay.
final. They
Yeah.
got two
Yeah.
chances,
Yeah.
didn't they? So they got beat in
Yes.
the prelim. then got the other
Yeah,
chance. And
yeah.
after hearing what
They
she said after the game about just kind of being like quite disappointed in the performance, and then seeing them last week, I was like, right, okay, these are
yeah.
these are taking it serious. They're listening.
Those moments make champions, and so many people
Yeah,
talked about that because there's a really tough head coach who said we weren't good enough, I wasn't good
yeah.
enough, she got upset, and you're like, this moment will define you, how you come out of it, and you could either let it get in your head
Mhm.
and let it destroy you, or you can make it the fuel in your belly. And they absolutely did that, and they looked like a completely different team at the weekend there. So
I
I'm with
thought
you, like
Loughborough were
I
going to
actually
walk all
don't
over
know.
them, and then I was, it was like, no, they've listened.
I think it's going to go like
Yeah,
this.
I do.
I really hope it goes to extra
I
time.
hope it does as
I
well.
know.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I appreciate with how busy you're being as well. You're going to be as well. So thank you. Thanks a lot. See you soon.